Hello, Unleashed fam, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Claude Mashiro, and this is Unleashed. You're worth it with Claude Mashiro, and it's all rooted in self-love. So today, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the topic of shame, and this was inspired by Mpumeli Dwaba. A couple of weeks ago. I saw she posted a picture or a snippet from Brené's book, The Gift of Imperfection. And last week I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were just talking about a situation that stripped away the idea of perfection that she had of herself. Made her feel human and appreciate just how gracious God is towards us. And I thought, let's do this. So yay, shame the shame. We all make mistakes. We all are human beings in this world. And for some reason, I don't know why, for some reason, we have this unrealistic expectation of perfection towards ourselves. Because we are human and it's in our human nature, we will definitely fall short. We will definitely make mistakes. But we never make room for that because, I don't know, in our minds, we try call it, I think in my life, I've kind of like called it setting a high standard of myself. And nothing wrong with that, nothing with holding yourself accountable to a certain standard, knowing that you could do better and knowing that you could show up better. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think it becomes toxic when we never make room for ourselves to be human. We don't give ourselves the grace, the grace to be human, the grace to err. It's a common saying, to err is human. We do not give ourselves that grace, and that becomes a problem because then now, because of these high standards that we set of ourselves, and the standard, and usually the standard is perfection. I'm a perfectionist, so and when you do then fail, when you do then make a wrong decision, when you do then misread a situation, when you do then do something that maybe is out of character for you, or you basically just make mistakes. Because for me, I pride myself with my, ability my commitment to sit down and analyze a situation before I jump in. And that has saved me from a lot of things, sitting down, think something over, look at it, like turn it around, look at it from this side and this side before I decide what I do. That has saved me from a lot of situations where things could have gone bad. But that has not always been the case in my life. I have made some wrong decisions that I realized later while I was in and continuing whatever it is that I was doing, that shucks, this is not where I'm supposed to be. This was a mistake. And I had to then turn around and be like, no, reroute. And I think that is by the grace of God. Some things, it's just by the grace of God that I managed to realize that I was in a mess and headed for disaster and able to reroute. But I think for the longest time, I struggled to forgive myself because the constant question was, how could I let that happen? How could I have misread that? How could I have just, made that mistake? How could I possibly have not thought this thing thoroughly enough to realize that this was a disaster waiting to happen, And it's so hindering. It imprisons you, because then I think following such incidences, then I've realized in one particular incident in my life, I then become afraid to make decisions because I don't trust myself anymore to make decisions. So I just want to limbo around in the unknown and, play around on the fence in the middle and not really make decisions about what I want to do going forward with my life, or even a completely unrelated situation. Because now I'm like, well, I had poor judgment the last time. Who's to say that I'm not going to make the same mistake now? Who's to say that even if it's a completely unrelated thing. But you now become so self-conscious, and you condemn yourself so much that you don't even trust your own decisions anymore. You don't even trust your judgment anymore. You don't even trust that you are capable of making the right decision anymore. And it takes work, to realize that I am in a very toxic place. And the first step to that is owning up to it. I think all of us have things that we probably have done in our lives that maybe we are ashamed of. Maybe you look at it now in retrospect and realize, I shouldn't have done that. And you want to shame yourself for it. But everybody has something to be ashamed of. That's number one. I think realizing that everybody has it. Everybody has something in their skeleton. Some people, maybe they don't hide it much anymore, or it's not really hidden, but it's not something that they first tell you when they meet you. It's not the first thing they say about themselves. And if you do find out, maybe they'll admit it. But it's one of those things where they try to keep it as under wraps as possible. And we all have something like that. We all do, because we are human, and so are you. So if there's something that you've done in the past that you are ashamed of, regardless of what it is, trust me, everybody has something. Everybody has something to be ashamed of. There's this movie, I forgot the name, but it's about, tell me if you remember it, but it's about this guy who had, I think it was the Red Room, I don't remember, but it's about this guy who had insecurities, and then he was basically killing people, feeding off of their shame, something, and it turned out to be something very small that people didn't want other people knowing. It was Idris Elba is in there. He's the detective investigating the case. My goodness, I can't remember this one. But anyway, moving on. But it's about so what happens that this guy finds out information about people online. So he catfish people, text you and whatever, and then he has something against you. And then, regardless of small, it could be something about someone's sexuality, could be something funny, something dodge, and something lame that he has against you, that he has against these people, that they don't want their family or their friends or anybody knowing. So then he threatens you, he blackmails you with it, come to this place, or right now in the next 5 minutes, or your mom's gonna find out about this, or your wife's gonna find out about this, or whatever. And he basically then blackmails people into doing things and going deeper into the shame and doing things they wouldn't do to try protect this one little secret. Now they're digging a bigger hole for themselves. And some people he ended up killing because of whatever it is that they were hiding and all of that. That's what this movie is about. Basically, he became a serial killer because of feeding off of people's shame, So I think when I watched that movie, it kind of reminded me how shame eats away things in us, because then we try to come up with lies to cover up our mistake. We try to come up with stories to make it seem like we're the victim in the picture. We try to come up with things and paint other people bad because we do not want to admit our part in the mistakes. And it goes so deep that some people end up even believing their own stories that they make up about situations and about people, just because they don't want to own up, or they don't want to face the shame of the poor decisions they made, or the shame of their actions, and we not only tell other people these stories, we don't only make up these stories to other people, but even to ourselves, to a point where it's so embedded in us, it's our nature to, whenever something like that comes up, to try and make up a story to cover up so people don't dig deep to eventually find out what's going on, and we then become imprisoned by our own lies that we make up about. Guys, nobody really cares about your shame, because we all have ours. Nobody cares that you made a mistake 10 years ago, because we all know we're not perfect and whatever. Well, that is people who acknowledge that they're not perfect, because most of the people that want to capitalize on people's mistakes and shames, especially on social media or everywhere, behind the screen, people who don't want to show faces, are actually people who have not dealt with their own shame, who are afraid to face their own issues, and then they're projecting what is in them to other people. I'm not talking about those, but I'm talking about I'm talking about people who've actually acknowledged and realized that they're human and they're not perfect, and that, oh my God, we need the grace of God to continue with this life thing, because we cannot simply do it on our own. We will make mistakes. Those people don't care about that little thing that you're scared of, that little thing you're afraid people are going to find out about you and not think the same about you. Because that's the thing, that's what shame does. It makes you think that if people found out this about you, they will not take you seriously anymore. If people found out this about you, they will not love you anymore. Like, basically, you think it makes you unlovable. You think it makes you unworthy. You think then you should go shut yourself in a dark closet somewhere and hide away from the world forever, which is absolutely not true. You know, it's not true that people are not going to think the same about you. I think it comes down to how you tell your story. And I want to encourage you to take your power back. First things first, share the true vision of the story, whatever it is, with yourself. Then maybe share it with your friend. Because the thing is, negativity thrives in secrecy. Negativity thrives in silence. The more you keep quiet about it and hope nobody ever finds out about it, trust me, there's always someone who knows about that wrong decision you made, and it's probably involved someone, also other people. So you're constantly going to live your life wondering what they are telling other people about you, or what version of the story of what happened are they actually telling, or if they're actually telling people what actually happened, which paints you in a bad way. You know, you're constantly going to be worrying, and that means that you're going to be trying to paint those people wrong, to discredit them before they can say anything to you. Only to find out those people don't even care. Those people are not even there. They move on with their lives. You understand? And you're constantly then, you know, going to be trapped in this circle. So start there. Tell the truth to yourself. Take your power back. Because once you start to own your truth, own your story, then you have taken the power away from someone else who thought, oh, juicy news on Twitter. You know, the minute you go, and think about it, why do you think celebrities are quick to be the first to announce whether they're going through a divorce, or whether a business has shut down, or something along those lines? It is because you have more control over the situation when you share your truth and when you break the news than when someone else does. Because someone else is going to tell a version that it might be far from the truth of what actually happened. Whatever they see, a glimpse of what they saw. You know, they see the elephant trunk and they think they know what the rest of the elephant looks like, and that's what they share. And they take, then now when you come, it's like, now, oh my gosh, my world has collapsed, and people have this completely different image of me, and oh my gosh. And now whenever you're telling your story or trying to correct, you're basically doing defense. But when you come forward and say it yourself, people will still say something negative, people will still comment, but hey, you have told your truth the way it is, and you have kept and reserved that power. Nobody is going to go on Twitter and say, hey, have you heard Mamang is divorcing or whatever, and as if it's fresh news. Everyone's gonna be like, yeah, we saw she posted herself. You know what I'm saying? So start there with you, and then share it with your friend. Share something with a friend or someone you trust, and be open and honest and be like, hey, you know that situation, this is actually what went down. Take your power back. And I'm not saying go spread you know, your stuff all over social media and tell people everything that's happened in your life or whatever. Sometimes it's not necessary for people to know, but as long as the important people to you know about the situation, then that's all that matters. It's nobody else's business. But the reason why it's important to share it truthfully to yourself and to other people, maybe those close to you that you trust, is because then you have broken the power of secrecy and the power of that shame over your life. If somebody else over the news ever finds out, or whatever, distant from you, it doesn't matter. You know, there's always going to be someone who doesn't know you. Like, I mean, I don't think people all over the world don't know me. There's a few people that know me, you know, only a small fraction. So obviously, to someone who hears about me the first time and they're hearing about something negative that I might have shared on this platform, or shared with my family and friends, or on my social media, it's going to be like, woo-ha, such a big thing. And then they're going to look back and realize, oh, but then she's never hidden this. even if they don't realize it, but it doesn't affect me because the most important person in the situation is me. It doesn't affect me what they think because the most important people around me, they know, and they know the truth. And that's how liberating it is. So Unleashed fam, break away from the clutches and the chains of shame and be honest with where you are, be honest with yourself, and take your power back. Tell your own truth. Do not allow anybody else to dictate what should and should not be true in your life. Okay? Do not allow anybody else to share your story. Share it your own way because it's yours to share. You can choose which details to omit. It does not mean that you're lying. It just means it's none of anybody else's business as long as people get the glimpse of what's happening in the story. I mean, I don't share all my business here, contrary to what people believe. It's not that I come out here and tell my business all the time. There's certain details that I'm selective about sharing because of the message I'm trying to drive. And it has nothing to do with anybody. If anybody knows the background story, what I'm talking about, whatever, well, that's up to them. But otherwise, I choose what I want to share because of what I feel is relevant for my platform. And that's that. And nobody can say anything about that because it's my truth, it's my platform, and then I have the right to decide which details I want to share and why. And if I feel certain things are not meant to be shared on a public platform, it's my choice to make. I reserve that right. But one thing I'm definitely intentional about is taking my power back in every situation because it's so easy to lose that power. It's so easy to allow people to dictate who you are, who you become, sometimes or a lot of times as a result of the decisions and choices that you've made as a result of your mistakes. But you reserve that right and you have to claim that right to take your power back and own your story. It is yours to tell afterwards.